Meanwhile, in the House, there is a drama over the infamous Trump dossier. You got the House Intelligence Committee has subpoenaed John McCain's associate, his name is David Kramer, seeking more information on the sources behind the dossier. Kramer met with the dossier's author. You know, it's Christopher Steele, the big investigator with the great reputation. And that happened at McCain's request, and then transferred documents to McCain that were handed over to the FBI, at which time the FBI says, oh, I got these already. Molly Hemingway is a senior editor at The Federalist. Tom Bevan isn't. He's co-founder of Real Clear Politics. They both join us. So, Molly, when we talk about this dossier, where does McCain, why is that of interest to find out how McCain got it and why his associate gave it to him?
You know, there's been a lot of interest in the role John McCain played in getting the dossier to the FBI. We now know that the FBI actually had the dossier months prior to that, and in fact, it was handed over in installments as it was being collected, which is pretty interesting, if not scandalous information in and of itself. But what's interesting about this is this guy came in, this McCain aide came in, and wasn't willing to tell who the sources were. He says he knows who the sources were in some cases, but he wasn't willing to say who they were. That's absolutely true that Americans have every right to know who the sources are for each and every unfounded or unverified salacious allegation that has spawned this sprawling battle. But it would be forthright and honest when they're talking to investigators.
And David Kramer works at the nonprofit McCain Institute, so he handed this off. Now, Tom, we know there's personal animus, or there was, between McCain and President Trump because of the shot President Trump took at him and maybe other things. So having said that, David Kramer really has nothing to hide. If he just got handed a dossier, he didn't write it, and handed it in, what's the mystery here?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, and I agree with Molly. I mean, he should testify, and there's no reason that he shouldn't be able to tell the House Intel Committee who those sources were. And we need to be able to know who those sources were to make assessments and value judgments about the veracity of the information. That's what, you know, critics of this dossier say it's totally unfounded, all these salacious allegations unfounded. And critics of Trump say, look, this thing is, you know, may be true, and they believe that a lot of it is. We need to know where these sources are, who the sources were, and where the information is coming from. It's also interesting, too, Brian, you go back to the feud between McCain and Trump. He sent David Kramer over to meet with Steele after the election. This was in mid to late November, and then proceeded to pass this dossier directly to James Comey. So that in and of itself is pretty interesting, that McCain would go to these lengths to do this after Trump was elected.
And then you just want to know, Molly, and we're about to find out when the Inspector General, who was put forward by Congress, who's preventing others from coming forward and saying the role the dossier played in the unmasking of other people who worked on some level with President Trump and into this overall investigation. The FBI perhaps is about to be extremely embarrassed at the high level with this investigation. Maybe we're about to find that out as many head for the exits, including Andrew McCabe in 2018.
Well, what's really important is for the FBI and the Department of Justice to simply answer Congress's questions about the dossier, about its use in securing a wiretap against a Trump campaign affiliate. They have been really not forthright about their role, and that is causing a lot of problems for investigators. And in fact, Devin Nunes, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, just sent a letter to Rod Rosenstein saying that all the information needs to be turned over by January 3rd. They'd previously claimed that they didn't have documents that it turns out they do have. All of this is very important, and I think people are growing tired of that obstruction that they're seeing there.
And Tom, real quick, 35 pages long, among its allegations that Russia has been cultivating President Trump, the host of The Apprentice, for 10 years at the behest of Vladimir Putin because they knew he was going to be president and they wanted to control the country. It sounds plausible.
Right. I mean, some of the allegations in the dossier are just, you know, so wild and beyond belief. But look, to the overall point, right, this document is the one that spawned the entire investigation. We've been a year now arguing and over these cries of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Not Russian interference in the election, but collusion. And so far, we have not seen anything to verify that. And we're a year into this, and it's going to go on much longer.
All right, Molly, Tom, great job. Thanks so much. Have a great new year.
You too.
You too.
All right, coming up straight ahead, we have shocking stats on chain migration. Just how fast are people entering the United States? We'll reveal those numbers, then try to get over it when we come back. Don't go anywhere.